Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the PhD podcast. In today's episode, we are joined by Dr. Kenneth Pits. He's an incredibly interesting person. He is the head research scientist at Spalding. All of those toys that you grew up kicking, throwing, he is the man that developed those, that is behind the R&D of potentially the most important company in the world when it comes to child toys, the ball. Everyone has a ball in their memory that they love, that they would bring to bed, that they would bring on family vacations, that maybe they lost in a river, and still think about sometimes. And this is the man that's behind these brilliant inventions. And thank you for coming to the podcast today, Dr. Kenneth. Please give us a little intro, and thank you for being here.
Well, before I introduce myself, I've got to ask, what was your first ball?
Uh, that's a good question. I actually had a piece of paper that I kind of put together, and I would suck on it. Uh, I was a very nervous kid, so I needed something kind of sensory to figure out and calm me down. And I would just suck on this piece of paper, and eventually it just kind of congealed together and made this very solid, uh, round, ball.
Mm.
And I'd throw it at the girls that I liked in first grade, and oh man, did they think that was gross.
The old spitball.
Mm.
Let me tell you, that's more common than you think. Uh, I've asked this question to every new person that comes into Spalding and works under my team. I ask them, tell me about your first ball. And I will tell you, for at least for the young men, 9 times out of 10, it's a spitball. Uh, so yes, ball and it's an important thing. Balls are a part of our lives. I think they're a beautiful part of our lives. The spherical nature, it's Earth, it's life, and it's there's a reason that I got into this game because I had a very special ball when I was young. You see, my great grandfather was in the Great War, and he gave me a ball before he left, and I never saw him again after this. And the ball he gave me, I lost.
Mm.
And I've been thinking about that loss ever since, and I'm trying to recreate that ball. And with every new product innovation, I go on stage and I say to everyone, this is my grandfather's ball. Because I know every step, every iteration, we're getting closer and closer. So that's kind of what inspires me about being in the ball business, as we say.
That's it's a really amazing story, and it brings a lot of enthusiasm into my mind. It makes me want to work for you. I can't imagine people on your team leave often because they're inspired daily, by such an incredible man. Um, I guess, the first question I have here is pretty simple, and it's what is the complex nature of developing at Spalding? Like, bring us through the steps of there is nothing, and then all of a sudden there is a new ball.
Mm.
I remember that huge innovation step back when I was a kid of the perfect spiral football that whistled through the air.
Mhm.
Give me just a little insight on how something like that is created.
Well, the Spalding Corporation, we made attempts at that time to create a whistling sort of plastic ball, more of in the toy category. We focus on the sporting goods and sporting equipment categories.
Mm.
We toyed with that. We couldn't get the whistle totally right. It was loud and quite loud. Injured people's ears, in fact. So we didn't work on that, but I can definitely take you through the process of building a ball, and I'll use it as an example. The very first basketball created by Spalding, in it was in the 60s when we were working on this, and let me tell you, we were fueled on, I always say, pizza, popcorn and curry. There was a smashing curry across the street that we had almost every night. And that is actually the reason why the basketball is the color orange. That's right. That's a little
Oh my
little
gosh.
fun fact for your listeners. I've never revealed this in any interview.
Wow.
Uh,
That is incredible.
Basketballs are orange because we were eating an orange. Well, I believe it was a pumpkin curry, and we thought, let's use that color.
That is amazing. Just because every night you were just filling yourself with pizza and curry that there was no better color option than orange. That's a really incredible fact about the basketball. I I read something online that when developing the whistling, ball that I mentioned previously, there was at one point uh, your team put hamsters in the ball. So when you throw them, they would naturally like squeak through the air because of being tossed up in the air and being spiraled. They're probably thinking to their death, um, to then just be caught by another child, 20 yards away. What is that true? And why didn't that get to the shelf? That seems like such an incredible idea.
That at the time was what we called a slam dunk.
Yes.
Basketball was huge at that time. Anytime anyone came up with an innovative idea, uh, we said slam dunk, and we would develop and work on it. And that was one of the slam dunks that we worked on. We thought this is a no doubt. People love little animals and creatures, and they love balls and sports and loud noises. We tried to
Mhm.
combine them all, and the problem was it's not what you're going to expect. I'll tell you. Well, guess what? Why do you think it didn't work out?
I am guessing you kind of ran into R&D laws in the US and how you can't kind of have live animals
Wrong,
be
wrong, wrong,
tortured. Oh,
wrong.
no. Okay.
Two words: toe nails.
Toenails.
These little creatures, these rodents, we tried not just hamsters, gerbils, mice,
Squirrel.
rats. Um, we did docked squirrels because the tail was
Mm.
too big, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, their nails would grow out, and we created an entirely enclosed system. So feeding the animals, giving them water, giving them love was all completely automated. We
Mhm.
couldn't automate the toenail clipping function. And that's what sank us. Our lawyers approved, and we got approval from the United States government to sell these in all stores. But alas, we were thwarted by toenails.
Ah, man, I just wish that I was on that R&D team because immediately rushing to my mind is cutting off the legs and castrating, putting something very hot on the wound so that it would close up and it would just get rid of the nail issue altogether
Cauterize.
because cauterize, yes. Cauterize these the animals so they just didn't have any growing nails. I just wish
Yes,
so
we.
much I was on that team.
Well, let me tell you, my friend Patrick, we tried cutting the limbs off, as you say. We tried. Well, first we tried removing the nails. We're not Philistines. We completely removed all of the nails, but nails, as they do, even if you give a low calcium diet near zero or the lowest percent needed to sustain life function, that's still enough to grow nails, unfortunately. So we tried tearing them off and we tried stopping them from growing, and they still grew the bloody things.
Oh, no.
So we took the logical next step, cut off the arm, the old arm, and we tried that and then cauterizing each of the wounds, and it did work for a time. However, uh, people were actually concerned about that when we actually there were lawsuits, which I'm not allowed to speak any further on that specific experiment, but alas, there are some laws and some ways in which you need to treat animals in the United States, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I don't have to push on the topic anymore. But it's making me think of this incredible environment of all the, you, this head scientist, all these scientists around you thinking of kind of the next slam dunk, right? And all I can think of is, you know, some rooms are filled with pens and papers for people to doodle while they think. Some rooms are are filled with fidget spinners and things for people to click and spend their time with. But the your research room must be just filled with a ball to kick around and to throw around and to think and ponder while and I think that must just be such an incredible environment. Uh, how is that?
Well, you would think that would be the case, um, but unfortunately, the balls are not for playing at Spalding HQ, as I always say. These balls are not for playing. We have a strict policy. There's a product testing lounge that many of our employees can utilize, and they're allowed to check out one type of ball for an appropriate amount of time, usually a 10-minute cap. Now, on Fridays, 15 minutes. Okay. This is the one place where you can play with balls at Spalding HQ. Otherwise, they're serious work balls. We're trying to create the next generation of sport or game, and we will simply will not be doing that while being distracted by silly things such as balls. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble, as they say, but
Uh,
alas, no balls on HQ grounds.
yeah, I was just imagining, I guess yeah, the ball play in the facility is just completely restricted. I was kind of imagining ball play being a much more intense and lively environment and part of the everyday work life. And maybe that's just my misconception when I think about balls and when I think about how important ball play is in my life. So I guess we can just move right on. Um,
Well, no, let's. Could I prod? I understand. I'm
yes,
I'm
yes,
the
of course.
interviewee, but what kind of balls are you playing with right now? As you're a 37-year-old man, I see.
Mhm.
Just
Yes.
trying to get your demographics down for my own research.
Yes, so I like going out and playing with, older kind of an older demographic of balls, which is like golf. I really like playing golf and, I like getting out
Golf.
once in a while with kind of the younger balls out there and playing tennis, of course. So tennis balls, golf
Yes, the
balls.
tennis ball.
Yes, those are the two big ones right now. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. We're working on, well, there's a lot of red tape. There's only so much I can say. But let's just say the best of both of those worlds will be coming together in a Shields near you,
Oh my
short
good.
in the
Oh my
next holiday
goodness.
season. I think I didn't say any of this.
Oh my gosh, that's an exclusive for the PhD podcast. Thank you so much for sharing that. I guess we can leave it there and we can all be excited for some kind of incredible crossover between golf and tennis ball, coming together to live in this world, coming from such a pristine research lab like yours. We're definitely all looking forward to it, that's for sure.
Wonderful. I hope it'll be a slam dunk.
Yes, I'm done. Okay, well, today's podcast is brought to you by Nike, that classic Nike swish. Um, Go out and buy all the shoes you might need, buy the basketballs, buy everything that you might need. Nike now sells pretzels and groceries, milk and bread. Really, you can get everything at Nike.com. It's kind of like the new Amazon or Walmart. Yeah, you can get everything that you could ever think of at Nike.com. Go to www.nike.com, promo code PhD podcast. Um, yeah, Kenneth, I do have a couple more questions here. So, in my research for prepping for the show, I found that you are the son of the great um, boat researcher, Dr. Caitlin Pitts, and
Well,
and
you
I
really do
just
your research.
yes, I
Wow.
just didn't. I was so curious on how you have a mother that was all about boat and sailing and maritime law. And how did you get into something so differently? Yes, the two things float, um, but a ball is nothing, nothing like a boat, right?
Well, when people find out about my famous mother, old cat, uh, they'll often remark similar things about how, you know, they both float, and we've laughed about that many a time.
Yes.
Uh, it was a departure for me to not follow her into boating. All of my other siblings did. I have seven siblings, three brothers, and for sisters, two sets of twins, mind you. And
Yeah.
I am the youngest in the family. And honestly, her marriage ended uh, shortly before I was born. To not my father, to her ex-husband, father of these seven children. So I had a very different upbringing and experience than the rest of the family, and they had a more polished lifestyle than me, we'll say. And as a boy, not having a lot around, I found balls, and I
That is
played,
amazing.
and I played with these balls all the time. You say tennis ball, I had an old tennis ball. I would throw it to my dog for hours, and then I would just enjoy it and play with it myself for hours.
Mm,
So that's really kind of full circle. Brings us to where we are today.
yeah, that's an incredible story. I think that's a glimpse into such a historic family. You know, the Pitts family is definitely in record books. It's in textbooks. You guys might be the most cited family in the world. Um, you just have so much research behind you at this point. Um, well, Dr. Kenneth, do you have anything that you might be um, advertising or any way that you might want to point our viewers and listeners to that you might be working on? I know that we got the sneak peek of the what is it going to be called? Can we get that? The golfist
Oh,
ball? No.
you naughty,
Yeah,
naughty
can we get a
Kelly.
little peek? Yeah.
No, no, I've already said far too much. The
Yeah.
Spalding Corporation would not be happy with me,
Oh
trust me.
no. Okay, well
But
send them my way.
what I can tell you uh, is is springtime is just around the corner. Baseballs, tennis balls, soccer balls, lacrosse balls, basketballs, footballs. All of these balls are available to you to use right now. Purchase one and consider Spalding because we've done the research for you. So please just consider playing with any ball you find, but consider Spalding.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all our listeners. Remember to go to www.nike.com, promo code PhD podcast for all your sporting goods. And thank you everyone for listening.